Hey folks, Jackdaw here. We've got so much Dragon Age news to go over today. In case you haven't heard, the next Dragon Age has officially been titled Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Now, I reacted to this news update live if you want to see my instant reaction to this title. However, now that I've cooled down only slightly since, I'll be inspecting this new title, its brand material, a brand new BioWare blog, and many developer tweets with greater detail on Dragon Age Dreadwolf. We've also got many other stories to go over since May, including 3 BioWare Developer Stories, a report on EA selling or merging, a new BioWare producer joining the Dragon Age team, and an update regarding the uncontracted BioWare developers unionizing. It's going to be a long one today, so let's get straight into this. The days of calling the next Dragon Age game Dragon Age 4 are no more, because the game has its official title being Dragon Age Dreadwolf, or for short, Dad or Daddy as the fandom has started to call it. Even the BioWare developers are going with it. Now, I'm personally quite a big fan of Dad. I like what it alludes to, that being a narrative regarding Solas as the Dreadwolf, following his scheme to destroy the Veil and restore the Elven times. Also, the idea that maybe Solas is going to get a dad body, becoming the Shred Wolf. I'd say Dreadwolf as a title doesn't allude to as much as Inquisition did. Like with Dragon Age Inquisition, the title resembled the forces of this mighty Inquisition rising to inevitably stop the Mage and Templar War. It also resembled the new player who became the leader of the Inquisition as the Inquisitor. So far, all Dreadwolf really tells us is that the events of the Trespasser DLC are continually unfolding, as the Dreadwolf sets apart his scheme. I feel like ultimately, this title refers to what Solas will become in order for his scheme to succeed, that being taking the Dreadwolf mantle, perhaps as well as the physical form of the Dreadwolf, depending on what really happened when he created the Veil and split the elves in two. However, this Dreadwolf mantle sparked hope in his allies and fear in his foes back in the ancient times. Solas didn't want Llewellyn to see what he would become for a reason, and I feel like we're going to bear witness to what that is in Dragon Age Dreadwolf with our new hero. So yeah, all in all, I am a huge fan of this title, more so because what it means for this next Dragon Age game. Like, the narrative feels like it is completely focused and devoted to Solas's villainous scheme to destroy the Veil. And that brings us to Solas being the villain of the next Dragon Age game. The new BioWare blog explored a section dedicated to who the Dreadwolf is, the emphasis on him being a trickster god. It also announced that if you haven't met Solas yet in Dragon Age Inquisition, don't worry, he will show himself when the time is right. This confirms 2 things. Firstly, in a large way, Solas is the antagonist of Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Now, a lot of us have speculated that Solas will be the villain for a fair amount of the game, and someone else will then reveal themselves as the quote main threat. Now, that still may happen. There are many foes and threats still lurking in theaters today. However, as it currently stands, confirmed by BioWare, Solas is the next game's antagonist, full stop. While many of us hope for a villain flip or for a subversion of Solas's character, we are fighting against Ven-Horel the Dreadwolf in Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Secondly, if you haven't met Solas yet, i.e. if you haven't played Inquisition or you haven't watched any lore videos that myself or many others have done, you don't need to worry about that because the game will explain all in due time. This probably isn't as relevant to hardcore fans who generally watch a lot of my videos, but for those who haven't experienced Dragon Age or Solas yet, they don't need to worry about understanding his goals, his lore, and everything about his nature. Instead, the game will introduce Solas as the antagonist as straightforward as possible, i.e. probably with new threads regarding our new hero, new ties to this narrative, new conflicts of interest, that sort of thing. Now, the title's official aesthetic follows a very purple theme with a white Dragon Age text followed by Dreadwolf in neon purple. Straight away, the neon purple has heavy Tevinter vibes. It reminds me of the official establishing shots of Tevinter's capital city, Minrathous, and the concept art pieces that featured our Minrathous witch. There seems to be a lot of neon lighting heavily highlighted with Tevinter, more specifically Minrathous City. Now, I'll touch on this more later, but as a very obvious statement to make, it feels like Minrathous in particular is going to feature heavily in Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Maybe it'll be a new hub space for our next hero, maybe a lot of the narrative goes down here. Now, this white Dragon Age font, originally I thought maybe it was ice with a few cracks in the middle, potentially representing the Veil's current stability, like yeah, it's alright, it's doing its job as a barrier, but you know, it's slightly breaking as Solas's scheme continues, and then maybe it's gonna full on break, that alluding to Dragon Age 4's potential narrative. A few of my friends in my Discord feel like it looks like lyrium cracking through each letter. matter. All in all, it's super intriguing. And then we have somewhat of the Dreadwolf mural right behind it all, which many of us believed related to the current blights of Thedas. That being 5 old gods who are being slain, with 2 still to go, 2 little moon discs still lit up, potentially representing Lusican and Razakale, who are yet to awaken. It could also relate to the elven gods, as I kind of believe the old gods are the elven gods. Again, I've got another theory video on that. It's super interesting though how it's all going to tie together to the Dreadwolf scheme and whatever else he has planned for Thedas. Something I am wondering about this beautiful purple aesthetic. What happened to the gold aesthetic with its gold trims and circles in the Game Awards trailer in 2020? As a completely throwaway idea, maybe even just relating to marketing, maybe the purple represents Tevinter, whereas the gold represents Antiva, because I feel like the Game Awards trailer had more shots of Antiva in there. And it's fairly concrete to say that the neon lighting refers directly to Tevinter. Or maybe it is just a change of direction since 2020, as that was 2 years ago, my goodness. Or maybe we will see the gold return in the future, who knows. It is interesting though that it has seemingly changed. Regardless though, gold and purple are both colours of royalty, which I feel may depict aspects of Dreadwolf's narrative, i.e. dealing with Tevinter's magisterium in Minrathous and Antiva's merchant nobles. And lastly, on the Dragon Age Dreadwolf BioWare blog, the final paragraph announced that Dragon Age Dreadwolf will not release this year. However, BioWare will be talking about Dragon Age Dreadwolf more later this year. Now, when they say talking, I don't know if that relates to a trailer or not. Maybe they're talking in a trailer, or maybe they're just posting website and social content online. But as it stands, we are at least going to hear more about Dragon Age Dreadwolf this year. In whatever form that is, I am super excited to hear more about this game. Now, we've also got a few more tweets to look at regarding Dreadwolf's title announcement. Creative director John Epler tweeted, "Really excited we got to announce this today. There's lots to come, and working with this amazing team has been the most incredible and rewarding experience of my 15 years in game dev. Can't wait to show you what we've all been up to and what's next." Former executive producer Mark Dara tweeted, "A rejected Dragon Age 4 title for real, sort of. Dragon Age Minrathous Nights being damn." The reason I wanted to bring this one up again relates to how I mentioned about Dreadwolf having Tevinter vibes with its neon lighting and purple aesthetic. With Dragon Age Minrathous Nights as an initial yet rejected title, it alludes to the setting and the theme of the next Dragon Age game, that being Minrathous featuring heavily. Now, Minrathous is the city that never sleeps, hence why we have a title with neon lighting, perhaps resembling that aesthetic. So it seems that we're going to be spending a lot of time in Minrathous. And the last tweet we've got to look at, Games Insider Jeff Grubb, you know who he all is now, he tweeted, "Dragon Age Dreadwolf is still more than a year away, but here is the name." Of course, while we all want Dragon Age Dreadwolf right now, the game is still in its production phases. I want BioWare to have all the time in the world, but as it stands, late 2023 is the expected release window of Dragon Age Dreadwolf. And of course, many other BioWare developers shared their excitement for Dad on Twitter that I wanted to share here because it is fueling so much excitement and happy vibes for Dragon Age. It's a fantastic time at the moment, and I'm so glad we're slowly learning more about Dragon Age Dreadwolf with more info to come this year. Of course, you're already in the right place the second that stuff drops. Let's move on and quickly explore this Electronic Arts merger story. So on May 23rd, Electronic Arts was reportedly pursuing a sale or merger, and it's claimed that the video game publisher and developer has had talks with the likes of Disney, Apple, Amazon, and Comcast. According to news site Puck via VGC, EA has been persistent in pursuing a sale. While it's certainly interesting that Electronic Arts has had talks with Disney and Apple, these talks are likely to take years before any concrete details become available. Still, I would be very interested if EA merged with either company and what that could mean for the majority of their franchises. Like, could we see a Dragon Age or a Mass Effect TV show on Disney+? The same goes for Apple with their streaming service, Apple TV. Anything is possible. Look what's happened with Lucasfilm since being acquired by Disney. Alternatively, could EA sell to the likes of Sony or Microsoft, joining their wide variety of teams? It's certainly an interesting prospect. However, for the moment, this is merely just a report. I'll certainly keep my eyes out for this story's progression in the future. On May 3rd, Benoit Houle, Director of Product Development, was featured in a BioWare Developer Story. Let's examine the entirety of this blog. As stated, follow your passions. That's the lesson we're getting from the subject of today's developer story, Director of Product Development Benoit Houle. See, Benoit has been with BioWare for over a decade and a half, which is an impressive stretch on its own. But before joining the studio, he spent nearly as much time doing something extremely different. The story so far. "I spent 14 years developing personal finance software," Benoit says. "Don't laugh, I know how to prepare my tax return incredibly well. Yes, it turns out that a degree in computer science can lead down a number of different paths. But after all that time working as a project manager at a personal finance company you've definitely heard of, Benoit was looking for a change. In 2006, a close friend of mine who worked at BioWare told me they were scaling up development. I applied instantly, and I've been working here ever since. Over 16 years now, mostly on the Dragon Age franchise. After starting as a principal project manager for Dragon Age Origins, Benoit quickly moved up to the position of senior development, director and co-director of production, then to director of production. In 2017, he took on his current role as director of product development for the studio. Benoit explains this role as being sort of a holistic one. I work with our amazing team of development directors and producers to manage how we make our games. The mission is to balance the needs of our players, our employees, and the studio as a whole throughout the development practices. In other words, we are continuously working to make the process more efficient while keeping key decision makers fully informed across the project. At the end of the day, we want to foster an environment where our teams can create wonderful games that delight our players. On Dragon Age, Benoit has been part of the Dragon Age franchise since the beginning, having a hand in every game and expansion in the series so far. So of course, we wanted to hear his take on what makes BioWare so special, and here too. Benoit takes something of a holistic view. It's the whole package: a rich world, an immersive story, captivating moment-to-moment gameplay, and also emotional, memorable moments with your companions. There's a great mixture of player agency, brilliantly sharp humor, and really weighty choices with real consequences. You know, those moments when you need to put down the controller for a bit and really think about your choices. When we ask about these emotional, memorable companion moments, Benoit cites Cassandra's development in Inquisition as a prime example. She starts off the game very guarded, very focused on one thing, the mission. She comes across as standoffish, even a little hostile. It feels like she doesn't care about you, but as you spend more time with her, you start to realize that the reason she's so guarded is that she cares deeply about everyone around her. But caring is dangerous, and sometimes it hurts, and so she keeps you at arm's length until you spend enough time with her, then she feels like she can let down her guard. And the fact that Cassandra is willing to let her guard down no matter what kind of character you're playing points to one of the other things Benoit finds so special about Dragon Age. I truly love how inclusive our games are. This is something that's very important to the leadership team, and I'm glad that fans appreciate that inclusiveness too. On BioWare, the ability to let yourself get lost in the game no matter who you are is something that gave Benoit a feeling of kinship with BioWare, even while deep in the finance mines. Even before I got into the industry, BioWare was a tremendous source of escapism and immersion for me. I spent so much time playing Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter Nights, Knights of the Old Republic. To have an opportunity to work for a beloved game developer and be a part of creating these amazing worlds and stories has been a dream come true, and I need to provide a huge shout of admiration to our Mass Effect team. They've been a constant source of inspiration and have created something truly amazing and remarkable. That dream has come with more than its share of memorable moments, including how the game interacted with celebrities. I was so thrilled when Inquisition won so many Game of the Year awards, and I'll never forget when we won the Best RPG award for Origins at the 2009 Video Game Awards. I was so proud of the team and what we accomplished together, and receiving the award for Snoop Dogg was definitely a bonus. And I have to say, I also really enjoyed working with 30 Seconds to Mars on the cinematic trailer for Origins. But it's pretty clear that what it comes down to is it's not the celebrities or the accolades that drives Benoit, but something much closer to home. You're probably hearing this a lot, but it's true. The thing that makes BioWare special is the people. We have an amazing pool of talent, people with the passion and the commitment to create something amazing every day. The creativity on display here is just astonishing. Fantastic blog there on Benoit, lovely to get an idea of who Benoit is and also his commitment to Dragon Age, and really just about how amazing and creative the team are at BioWare. They're an inclusive, talented bunch who truly define what it means to make a Dragon Age game. On May 27th, game director Corinne Busche was featured in a BioWare Developer Story. As followed, our latest edition of Developer Stories shows how a career path can take you to different places but still lead you right where you belong. Today the spotlight is on game director Corinne Busche, who's helping guide the next Dragon Age. It's the latest stop on a more than 15-year journey that started with golf. The story so far. Fresh out of college with a degree in digital animation, Corinne wasn't originally aiming for a career in games. I expected I'd probably work in film, but while looking for career prospects, I was fortunate enough to land a contract gig doing environment art on the Tiger Woods franchise. I knew nothing, literally nothing about golf, but I'll tell you, from my first taste of being part of a game team, I knew I'd never do anything else. I absolutely fell in love with game design. Following her time on The Links, Corinne moved over to Maxis's The Sims to work as a systems designer. She remained at Maxis for almost a decade, but when the opportunity to move over to BioWare arose, she jumped at the chance. It'd always been one of those dream destinations for me. I just adore RPGs that prioritize choice and offer the kinds of relationships that tug at your heartstrings. Now she's helping guide one of these RPGs herself, though she's careful not to overstate the directorial role. Game directors are sometimes thought of as big personalities who are singularly responsible for the purity of their creative vision. But for me, it's really about being a steward for the vision that we as a team have collectively defined. I get a high-level view of everything as it's coming together and can steer the project as it does. But ultimately, it's about empowering people to work together, play with ideas, offer critiques, and make decisions, all to help create a cohesive experience for the player. On Dragon Age. The Dragon Age franchise has a very special place in Corinne's heart. In part, she says that's because the games are all about possibility. In Dragon Age, you can be who you want to be, explore the possibilities and consequences of your choices, and build relationships that leave a lasting impression. Few games give players that kind of autonomy, while also weaving such a rich narrative. I think it really speaks to why our players feel so invested in this world. And the idea of being who you want to be carries a particularly special meaning for Corinne. As a queer trans woman, I have a perspective on the games that not everybody has. Dragon Age has long been a place where LGBTQIA+ folks can see people like themselves, represented respectfully. It's inherently very queer, and it's such a rare thing for marginalized communities to have representation where we feel proud and powerful in how we are depicted. It's so deeply meaningful for so many. I often get emotional when I think about what it would have meant for a younger version of myself to see someone like her in a game, and as a hero no less. I hope we can be a safe place for our queer players to know that they are not alone, that they are brilliant and worthy, that they are not only welcome but celebrated. On BioWare. Corinne has found a similarly welcoming environment at BioWare itself. I transitioned during my time at BioWare, and I reflect all the time on how supported and seen I felt through that process, and how lucky I am to be surrounded by people of this caliber. It really speaks to the value of this team and their commitment to inclusion in their works and their lives. And she's found that this welcoming mindset extends to the fans. My favourite part about working at BioWare, and on Dragon Age specifically, is how much we get to interact with and learn from our players and fanbase. It always brings a smile to my face when a tweet from a fan gets posted in our Slack channels and sparks discussion. I think our fans would be really surprised if they could see how influential they are in our day-to-day discussions. Of course, Corinne is a fan herself of many kinds of gaming experiences. Board games are a big draw for her. I love board games. I'm just fascinated by them as a game designer because they really are the craft distilled down to the fundamentals, and I love the social experience. Naturally, she also plays a lot of video games. Way too many, she says. I'm especially fond of RPGs, action RPGs, and strategy games. Most recently, I've been playing Elden Ring, Fortnite, don't at me, Slay the Spire, and of course another playthrough of Inquisition. And when playing a role in these role-playing games, she remains unabashedly herself. I guess I play my characters like I behave in real life. Rarely mean, sometimes snarky, and always thirsty. I love that. Corinne is such a lovely member of the Dragon Age team. It's also absolutely lovely to hear Corinne speak about the LGBTQIA+ community and how the team at BioWare are inclusive and creative and are going to be creating even more characters that support and uphold LGBTQIA+ characters. Like, that gets me super excited for characters like Miveris Talani and the intrigue and the conversations we're going to have with her, but also other more inclusive represented characters. I think that is a fantastic, much needed thing in video games, and I'm super glad that BioWare are doing that and are pushing on that. And also, it's really nice to hear how much the fandom means to Corinne Busche. I've had a few conversations with Corinne on Twitter, and she's been absolutely lovely, saying that she watches my videos. Really glad that we have this amazing, incredible, creative and inclusive team at BioWare. Now moving on, last news update I reported on an IGN story regarding a group of quality assurance testers working on Dragon Age 4. They filed an application to unionize after being asked to work in the office during the coronavirus pandemic, even though permanent BioWare team members could work from home. The very quick update to the story, thanks to Eurogamer, is that these group of game testers are no longer being ordered back to work at the BioWare offices. They can work from home, which is definitely a push in the right direction for this story. Now, on May 24th, please forgive me for the pronunciation, Francois Xavier Labescat joined BioWare and the Dragon Age team as an associate producer. Absolutely wishing you the best at BioWare, Francois. And moving on to the final BioWare blog we have to examine, production director Mark Walters featured on a developer story as followed. Friends, it's time for another developer Developer Story, where we meet the folks who make the games that make BioWare what it is. Today, we sit down with another member of the Dragon Age leadership team, production director Mac Walters. Mac has been with BioWare for, 18 years? That can't be right. Or here we go, 18 and a half years. In some countries, Mac's time at BioWare would be old enough to vote. In other countries, like mine, it'd be old enough to drink. The story so far, with such a long tenure here, it may surprise you to learn that before joining BioWare, Mac wasn't in the video game industry at all. In fact, he'd spent most of his life up to that point thinking that wasn't even an option. The first time I realized that there were teams of people who made the games I loved, I thought, I want to do that one day. But growing up, everyone said, video games? That's not a real job. You can't do that. So I pursued a bunch of different things that weren't my passion. A chance encounter changed his perspective dramatically. I happened to meet Ray Musaka, one of the founders of BioWare, at a conference. He was there talking about how BioWare was the business, how he and Greg Zeschuk, look, I'm just not good with pronunciations, so please don't get annoyed at me, the co-founder, got their MBAs, and I know that doesn't sound exciting, but I was like, wait a second, is this a real business? You can do this for a living? So I carved out part of my schedule every day to work on a submission to BioWare. That was a long time ago, but it worked out in the end. And as for why he looked at BioWare specifically, every time I fall asleep, I'm creating a new world in my head. I've been that way since I was a kid, and the worlds that BioWare were building at that point, Neverwinter Nights, had just come out. Those worlds really excited me. They released the Aurora toolset for Neverwinter Nights, which let players create their own RPG stories. I could build those worlds myself. I spent a lot of time playing with that, and there weren't a lot of companies that were so strongly focused on telling interesting stories and having amazing characters. Coming off Mass Effect Legendary Edition as its project director, he's taken on the role of production director for the next Dragon Age, and that role is, well, what exactly? The easiest way to think of it is to take the two key components of that title and map it to the film or TV industry. Imagine someone who's both producer and director. So you have the vision for a product you're helping to uphold, something you and the team want to do, but on the producer side, you are also responsible for figuring out how you're going to support the team in creating that vision. And then you work with the team to actually execute that vision. On Dragon Age, this isn't his first leadership position at the studio, but during his time here, Mac has held high-level roles across multiple franchises, but he never forgot his very first look at a BioWare game in development, because it was love at first sight. When I started at BioWare, I didn't know what project I was going to be on immediately, so I was just kind of wandering around, chatting with people, and I remember someone showed me a super early concept of Dragon Age Origins, and there were all these characters having a battle beneath the bridge, with all these arrows flying up and everything, and I was like, OMG, that looks incredible, I want to work on that. He was fated for a different path, however. He started out as a writer on Jade Empire before moving over to the Mass Effect franchise, graduating from senior writer to narrative director and then to creative director, most recently serving as a project director of Mass Effect Legendary Edition. But things have a way of coming around. 18 and a half years later, I finally get to work on Dragon Age, the one I saw literally on my first day I was at BioWare. And what is it that makes the franchise so special? For me, it's exploring a deeply magical world alongside incredible characters who really make that journey, that exploration, impactful and meaningful. And it's a diversity of characters, the ability for players to really see themselves in that heroic role. Dragon Age really lets you lean into that. It allows anyone to play the role they want to play in a way that they can see themselves as the hero of the story, whatever that means to them. I think that's one of the great things about BioWare games in general, and specifically the Dragon Age franchise. On BioWare, talk to enough folks at the studio and you'll start to notice a common thread that runs through the developers' feelings about BioWare, something that you'll see in all kinds of artistic endeavors. The people who make BioWare games make them because these are the kinds of games they want more of in the world. I assume if you're reading this blog, you're probably a fan of at least one of the franchises. So imagine going to work with a bunch of people like yourself who are fans of the same types of games, who are passionate about making them, and then getting the opportunity to build more of those games. I think that's what BioWare is. We started out as fans of the game that we're building, and that's kept at the core of everything the team does. One of the questions we often ask ourselves is, would we want to play this? Is this exciting to us? That's what leads us to develop the games and franchises and worlds that we do, and I think that is one of the things that makes it so fun to work here. It is work, but it's also getting to do something that you're deeply passionate about. Even after 18 and a half years, Mac doesn't seem at a risk of losing that passion. The franchise, the worlds themselves, they're so big. Like I said, I go to bed every night thinking about new stories to tell and new places to explore in those worlds. There are so many stories yet to be told. Absolutely love the passion at the end there coming from Mac. I remember his absolute dedication and his creative vision of Mass Effect Andromeda, and while many people have varying opinions of Mass Effect Andromeda, Mac's determination and vision for that game was incredible, and I'm a huge fan of him. The fact that he's now working on Dragon Age is super exciting. I look forward to what he and the team come up with. But all in all, each of these BioWare developer stories have been fantastic, showcasing the inclusivity, the passion, and the determination that so many developers have for Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Let me know all of your thoughts on each of the stories I've talked about today, from the next Dragon Age's title, its logo, Solas being the antagonist, to each of these blogs, and even EA being merged. I would love to hear every single one of your thoughts for all the latest on Dragon Age Dreadwolf's developments. You are of course already in the right place. I've been Jackdaw, and I should go. Whoa, 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 whoa.